Donald Trump has asked a federal judge to temporarily stop the FBI from reviewing the material it seized from his Florida home 2 weeks ago. The former U.S. president wants the court to appoint a so-called special master to inspect the records. According to the FBI, 11 sets of classified files were taken from Mr. Trump's Florida estate. He's being investigated for potentially mishandling documents. U.S. presidents must transfer all of their documents and emails to a government agency called the National Archive, and the FBI is investigating whether Mr. Trump improperly handled records by taking them from the White House to Mar-a-Lago after he left office in January 2021. Well, for more on this, we can cross live to Washington and join Arise US correspondent Eric Ham. Good to see you, Eric. Tell us more about what Mr. Trump is attempting to do.
Yeah, well, we finally got a response from the Trump legal team after 2 weeks since, of course, this entire process played out. The president's lawyers are requesting a special master to go through and review the documents. Now, for our viewers, what that means is they want to bring in a third party who will do an inventory of all of the documents that were seized from former President Trump's estate, and then go through them to determine which documents actually belong to the federal government and which documents belong to the former president. Now, what this suggests is that the former president had things of his own person that were taken. But also what our viewers need to understand is the federal government, when a president leaves office, all of his communications, all of his documents, everything that has taken place over his time as president of the United States, it does not belong to him. It belongs to the federal government. And it is up to the National Archives to actually inventory all of that information. Now, we are now learning, Charles, and this is some breaking news, that the federal government actually retrieved more than 700 documents. Of those 700 documents that were retrieved from Mar-a-Lago estate, 100 actually were considered to be top secret. And now we're learning that the National Archives is actually doing a threat assessment on those documents to see which documents were in fact tainted. But nevertheless, the president wants a special master. It may be too late for that, as now we know all of these documents have been handed over to the FBI for a threat assessment of them.
Well, you rather pipped me to my next question there, Eric. I was going to ask you whether this action by Mr. Trump is likely to succeed, but obviously you've answered that question. But it has been said that this is basically an attempt to slow everything down by Mr. Trump. Is that a fairly accurate assessment?
Yeah, that's actually spot on, Charles. And here's some more information that we got inside this filing from the president's attorneys to the Justice Department. In there, they say, and I'm paraphrasing, that they recognize the tensions that this have caused, the potential threat to FBI agents, and how this is becoming dangerous for federal agents, and that we can actually help you alleviate some of this. And so when you look at this wording, it comes across almost as if it's a threat to the federal government, to these federal agents that are both investigating the former president as well as who have conducted these searches on his property. And so that is something that looking at that could be looked at and can be construed as this is a potential threat to federal agents. So this situation is certainly becoming even more damaging as it plays out. And also we are hearing from the National Archives that they stated that they have tried negotiating with the former president for months, emphasizing the S on there, to try to get these documents back. So I don't know where the president simply, Donald Trump just has no legal standing whatsoever, even though we have heard his defense that he stated that when he left office, that there was a standing rule that he made that anything that he took with him would be declassified. However, what we are learning from those aides around him, they never heard of such a classification from the former president when he in fact left office.
So just to be ineluctably clear, Eric, whatever Mr. Trump does, the executive privilege documents are still government property and still belong in the National Archives.
That's correct.
Let me move away from that and ask you about another story that's actually been developing, or that we heard about in the US, the city of Houston in Texas, holding a gun buyback event, the first in 2 decades. I understand hundreds queued up for hours to hand over their firearms to police in exchange for gift cards. Tell us more about why they're turning their guns in.
Yeah, this is actually something that we see take place across the country in different cities, where cities will offer these gun buyback programs, which means they will actually take guns and they will, with no questions asked, so they won't actually do investigations on these guns. They will not determine if these guns were used in criminal activity. They will simply take these guns, no questions asked, and in exchange, they typically will offer either money or, in this case, gift cards. And so we have seen this happen, particularly in areas such as Chicago, New York, where areas where you have like high gun violence, they will do these gun buyback programs. And we see here, Houston, the largest city in the state of Texas, is offering this gun buyback program. And also, it's important to note that, of course, Houston is a Democratic controlled area in the state. And so this certainly is going to go against the grain, of course, in terms of what we're seeing in the state, where they're making it easier as possible for individuals to actually get guns.
Eric, thank you very much indeed. We're all up to date. Eric Ham, Arise US correspondent, talking to me there from Washington.